everybody. Welcome to another Adobe Illustrator beginner lesson. As we learn how to use shapes and how to use our align and distribute tools, and how we have started to use the snap to grid function in Adobe Illustrator, one of the early projects that you can work on is making flags, because really all it is taking a bunch of shapes and lining them up. So you can see I have two flags here, and basically they're the same design, just different colors. This top one is the flag of Cuba, and the bottom one is the Puerto Rico flag. And there's probably a few other flags around the world that kind of have a very similar design with this triangle and stripes in the background. It might be more or less stripes, but you can make that adjustment as we go. So I'm going to show you how to make these two flags today, and we're going to be using the view grid and snap to grid functions. So let me get rid of these so we can start fresh. If you want to have the grid on your screen, and I highly recommend this for the flags, because when you are using the grid, you can see the grid is split up into these larger blocks which represent inches, and you can kind of get things to size like real easy without having to actually type in anything. So to show the grid on your screen, you have to go to View, and you're going to go down to Show Grid. Right now mine says Hide Grid because it's already out there. And then you're going to go back into View again, and you want to make sure that Snap to Grid is on. And this will also help you guys keep things aligned. If you don't have Snap to Grid on, you're going to have to use your align tools manually. Okay? So the first thing I want you to do is get the rectangle tool out, and you're gonna have to look closely at your screen, and you can see there's these darker lines on the screen. I'll zoom in so you can really see it. These are the this is where an inch would be. So this would be a 1 inch square. So we're gonna make a 3-inch tall rectangle by 5 inches, and this is really kind of the basic proportions of most flags. So we're just going to stick with 3 by 5, and it's kind of easy to work with. So once and you see how it snaps, it like really kind of like jumps into place following the grid. If you're doing more intricate work, you do not want to have this on, because it's going to just lock in everything to 1/8 of an inch. It's going to drive you crazy. So, but for the flags, this works really well. So here we go. I have a rectangle on my screen, and I'm just going to hit the default fill and stroke button here to make it black and white. Yours might be black and white already. So that's going to be the size of our flag. Now to make the stripes, if I wanted to divide these 3 inches into 5 parts, that'd be a little bit, you'd have to do a little bit of math there. So I want to try to avoid having to do some math if I can. I could just do this by scaling stuff. So one of the things I've learned over the years is that if I make a stripe of any size on my grid, all right, so obviously this isn't going to go all the way across, and definitely I would need more than 5 stripes to fill the flag with a rectangle this size, but I just want 5 stripes lined up. So I'm going to copy and paste this. So Command C, Command V to paste, and I'm going to hit paste a bunch more times. Paste, paste, paste. So I pasted it 4 times. So now when I click on here, they all paste in the same spot, by the way. I'm going to drag these down, and now I got 5 stripes. Like I said before, these stripes are not the right size. So I'm going to select all the stripes, and I will group them. The key command for grouping is Command or Control G. And the other way to get to that is if you right click on it, you can go to group. Mine's grouped already, so it would say ungroup there. So we can group it either way. And there's also a spot on the side of the screen over here that says group. Okay, now this is the part that makes your life real easy. Is if I move this right up into the corner here, this corner of this group is in the right spot, but this corner is not. So let me just move this over a little bit so I can show you. I'm going to click on the corner of this, and I'm just going to scale it right into the same size as the rectangle that's there. Now it actually covers up the old rectangle, but that's okay. We just kind of used it as a guide. If you want to, like, get rid of that, you could. If you didn't even want to use that to begin with, you didn't have to. You could just scale this right to 3 inches by 5 inches. Now we have our stripes. So I'm going to change the colors of the stripes. So using the direct selection tool, because remember, if I use the regular selection tool and I select this, it's going to select the entire group. So I'm going to use the direct selection tool, and I'm going to click in the middle of the stripes. And I'm going to hold the Command key or Control key and click inside that. Oh, actually, sorry. I'm going to hold the Shift key, and I'm going to click inside the 3 stripes that I want to change the color of. Okay, so now I'm going to change the color here. I'll just change it to blue, and voila, I have blue and white stripes. The triangle, we can use the triangle tool if you want to rotate it into place, but with Snap to Grid on, it's pretty nice to just use the pen tool. So the triangle is going to start in the very corner, and then I'm going to go out to the middle of the stripe. So you got to be a little careful here. It's going to snap to the middle of the stripe. The math kind of works out on this because we're at exactly 1.5 inches here. And then I'm going to click back in the other corner, and then I'm going to have to close the shape at the very top. Okay, now we have a triangle, and we can change this color to red. And now we have the basic elements of our flag. The star, you would have to click and hold on the rectangle tool, and we're going to change this now to the star tool. So remember, in the toolbox, you click and hold, and we'll change this to the star tool, and I can click and drag a star. Now the star that comes out kind of has this like odd angle that's not so geometric. If you hold the Option key on your keyboard, see how it jumps into like a perfectly geometrical star shape. And then when I let go, I could change this to white by hitting the default fill and stroke down here in Toolbox. Default fill and stroke, change that to white. And you have to kind of like, I mean, I'm sure there's exact proportions to the flag, so you're kind of taking a little bit of a guess as to how large to make that. If you need to scale it to get it to be perfect, then scale it. You might have to finagle that to make it look just right. Do I want these black outlines around every shape of my flag? Well, if it's going to be like cartoony, sure. But if it's going to be like a real smooth graphic of a flag, I'm going to make my stroke none. And now I have my flag. So I do want to show you something else really quick at the end of this tutorial here about changing colors, especially if you have the colors out on the screen. So the flags that we did, the Cuban flag and the Puerto Rico flag, are the same colors, the same shapes, but the colors are just switched. The blue and the reds are switched. So I did a copy of the flag. So all right, before I do that, I would group the entire flag. Once you're done with anytime we're working on something and we finish with a certain element, I would group it. That's done. Now I'm going to copy and paste it. This way when I click on it, I'm clicking on it and I'm grabbing the whole thing. It won't come apart on me. Okay, so I'm going to show you a new tool called the eyedropper tool. All right, and it looks like the eyedropper you would find in your science class. And I want to select with my direct selection tool, so this is the white arrow tool. I'm going to select the top stripe. I'm going to hold Shift, the middle one. I'm going to hold Shift, the bottom one. And what I want to change this to red. So instead of changing the color to red, I'm going to just pick the color off the screen, and that's what the eyedropper tool does. So I'm going to get the eyedropper tool from the toolbox, and if you hit I on your keyboard, it'll change the eyedropper tool. And I'm going to pick the red right off of the other flag, and it fills those rectangles with red. And now I can do the same thing for the triangle. So I'm going to take white arrow, I'm just going to click once on the triangle, and then I'm going to take my eyedropper, and I'm going to pick the blue, and now I have both flags complete. So flags are a really nice way to practice